has staged the biggest political comeback in history, and I think that we are on the verge of a golden age in the economy for the next 4 years, where we can have a growth agenda, where we deregulate, get energy prices down, and get interest rates down.
You concentrate on the public safety threats and the national security threats first, because they're the worst of the worst. So it's going to be the worst first. That's how it has to be done. And we know a record number of people on the terrorist watch list have crossed this border.
Trump also topping a long list of women he has selected for key jobs, with former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi as his nominee for the top law enforcement job in the nation, U.S. Attorney General, following former Congressman Matt Gaetz withdrawing his name from consideration to lead the Justice Department, and capping a long list of female cabinet leadership picks, including newly named Agricultural Secretary nominee Brooke Rollins, Education Secretary nominee Linda McMahon, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Department of Homeland Security Secretary nominee Kristi Noem, UN Ambassador nominee Elise Stefanik, DNI nominee Tulsi Gabbard, a long list, Caroline Leavitt, Dr. Jeanette Neshawat, and Oregon Representative Lori Chavez de Remir, all among others. Trump moving at lightning speed, filling out his cabinet to also include Cantor Fitzgerald, Chairman and CEO Howard Lutnick for Commerce Secretary, former Wisconsin Congressman and Fox Business host Sean Duffy for Transportation Secretary, and former Deputy AG Matt Whitaker as NATO Ambassador. Now, to the question of Senate confirmation, coming in early January. Joining me now in the Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, a member of the Senate Homeland Security Committee. Senator, great to have you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Good morning, Rhea. Thanks for having me on.
Have you spoken to some of your colleagues on the Republican side? Do you believe President Trump will see confirmations for his nominees?
Well, first of all, I'm doing pretty much the unofficial whip count for RFK Jr. because I've known him well. Now, listen, I believe Republican senators certainly understand the overwhelming victory, the solid victory of President Trump, and basically that President Trump, as a result, earned a mandate. He has earned the right to be able to select people that will help him govern and carry out his agenda. And the agenda is primarily, from my standpoint, one that's going to focus on the working men and women of this country that build America, that we're going to have to rely on to repair the damage done by 4 years of destructive Democrat governance and literally make America great again. So I think Republican senators get that they have that respect for that. And my guess is if any nominee that gets through the committee process, and I think most of them will, if not all of them, they should have clear sailing for confirmation. We only need 50 plus J.D. Vance, so we can have a few defections. But I'm pretty confident that President Trump will be able to staff his administration with the people that are going to fight for his agenda. That's extremely important. I think if you take a look at that, I hope, by the way, Mark Cuban issues an apology for based on all the strong women that President Trump has now appointed. But, I truly do believe that what you see in these selections are people who are willing to fight. They're not going to wilt in the face of criticism. They're going to carry out his agenda.
So you just need a majority. You don't need the 60 votes. You've got the majority. The GOP is running the Senate. So you believe that the Republican senators will appoint and confirm President Trump's nominees, and he will get those nominees in place.
I do, absolutely. And by the way, I'm really excited about Russ Vought. He's returning in his role as OMB. Vivek and Elon, they're Department of Government Efficiency. Again, they're not confirmable positions; they're outside of government. But the ideas that they come up with in terms of making government more efficient, more responsive, less crushing of our freedoms, it's kind of like Russ Vought that can really implement those plans because he's highly experienced. So I couldn't be happier that President Trump reappointed him to OMB.
Let me ask you this about change, because I know that the American people voted for real change. Do you think real change is possible in terms of the way government works, in terms of some of the behavior that we've seen in the past from these career professionals in government?
It is, because I think more of Americans have had their eyes opened up, particularly during COVID, of the capture by large businesses of government agencies, the corruption then within those agencies, And all we have to do is show a couple examples of that, and I think more Americans will open up their eyes. And again, you have dedicated individuals now that President Trump has appointed these positions who will carry out that agenda. So with public support, and that's the first thing you have to do. You have to garner public support by exposing the truth, exposing the reality of the corruption of big government and how it crushes our lives, how it sparks inflation, how President Biden opened up the borders and how that has endangered our country, clear and present danger. So again, that's the mandate. Secure the border, return those illegal immigrants that certainly are a threat to this country, tame inflation, and quite honestly, root out the corruption and the wokeism that the Democrat government has put into these agencies.
Where do